Good morning, my friends. I'm Pastor Ben Hayes from First Baptist Church, Dadeville, Alabama, bringing you our thought for the day on this fantastic Friday. It is Friday, and we're excited about what God is doing in our church. So don't miss out on Sunday morning. Got a great service planned for you. 8:45 Bible study, 10 a.m. worship, small groups at 4. It is going to be great. So come and be with us for that. Now, keep in mind where we are in Romans chapter 12. Paul is talking about the absolute essentials for the church's success in the world of his day and in the world of our day. It begins with each of us offering ourselves to God as living sacrifices. Our reasonable service, that is just reasonable for what we do. We're allow our minds and hearts to be transformed so that we can serve God. And then we recognize that God has poured out His grace on us in the form of spiritual gifts that enable us to serve together. And each of us has that gift, and we have to serve Him with that gift, or the church will falter. It will not accomplish all that God would have it to accomplish. It's like an 8-cylinder car working on 4 cylinders. You got to be sure that every person is doing their part. And God enables us to do that. And we talked about several of the different kinds of spiritual gifts, but there's a whole host of them. So you can Google that and discover that, or just look through your Bible and figure out what those spiritual gifts are. But all of that comes together when believers have love for one another and do the right things and understand what it means to be holy as God is holy. Look with me at verse 9. Paul says, "Let love be without hypocrisy. Abhor what is evil. Cling to what is good." So what is he talking about here? Our love for God, yes, absolutely, but our love for each other as well, without hypocrisy. That word hypocrisy is an interesting word. It comes from the Greek theater. In the Greek theater, what they would do when they would play parts is that they would use a mask to cover their face. Sometimes the mask was a man's mask, sometimes it was a woman's mask. Men always played the parts, but they would use a mask to cover their face. And so that was considered to be a hypokritos, two-faced. Two-faced. You get it? A hypocrite is a two-faced person who is saying one thing to this person and another thing to that person, who is acting one way in this place but acting a different way in another place. And so Paul is saying, let your love be without hypocrisy. Let it be pure. Let it be true. Let it be real. Let your love be without hypocrisy. And abhor what is evil. That's what it means to be holy, as God is holy. We hate the things that are evil. We don't hate evil people. We hate the things that are evil. We hate what is evil. We love the people and we want to see them changed and brought into the family of God. But we abhor all things that are evil. And there's a whole list of things we could talk about, but you know exactly what I mean. Those things that are displeasing to God, those things that are against God's commands, those are the evil things that we are to abhor. And that's a strong word. We're to actively work against that, to stay away from that. But then he says, cling to what is good. Cling to what is good. You see, here's the problem. We go back to that garbage in, garbage out illustration I used earlier. If we allow bad things to come into our minds and into our hearts, bad things are going to come out of our words and out of our actions. So instead of doing that, we cling to the good things, the things that are pure and noble and trustworthy, and all those things that Paul talks about in Philippians. We cling to those things. We stop watching the wrong things and start watching the right things. We stop reading the wrong things, start reading the right things. That's important for us. We change our lives because we love the Father and we hold on tight to what is good. And then look at what he says in verse 10. He starts out by talking about love. Let love be without hypocrisy. Then he says, be kindly affectionate to one another with brotherly love. Now, I want you to understand something. That up in verse 9, we're talking about agape love, the godlike love, the sacrificial kind of love, the kind of love that says, I love you more than I love myself. I want to meet your needs before I meet my needs. I'm putting you first and lifting you up to the Father. And that's the kind of love that has to be without hypocrisy. But then as we deal with those around us, we need this brotherly love, this philos kind of love, this kind of love that says, we might not agree with each other about everything, but we are family, and families stand together. When the important times come, when the hard times come, we are there for each other. We have that kind of brotherly love, and we are kindly affectionate to one another. You know, there might be times in your life where you don't like your brother and sister very much. You ever been there? But you always loved them. You remember those times when you would be fighting and fussing amongst yourself, and then some outside kid would come in and attack one of you, and the family just turned around and they were on that kid? You remember those days? That's what we're talking about here. Be kindly affectionate. Might not like everything they do, but you're going to take care of each other. We'll pick up here on Monday. Think about that, and think about how that applies in the church of our day. Be blessed.